Hello, and welcome back. My name is Wes. I'm a minister of the Universal Life Church Monastery uh, and the Universal Life Church of Massachusetts. Please subscribe, and you can also follow me on Facebook at the Universal Life Church of Massachusetts on Facebook. Today I want to talk about the Emerald Tablets and the Emerald Tablet, singular. There is another story of the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, or Toth, depending on how you pronounce it. The Emerald Tablets of Thoth was basically started in 1939-1940 by Dr. Maurice Doreal. So that story of him finding them and returning them to the pyramids and the whole story of the Emerald Tablets is just, from my opinion, a ripoff of the Emerald Tablets of Hermes Trismegistus. The Emerald Tablet of Hermes Trismegistus is an older, more well-documented story, and Dr. Maurice Doreal, who created the Great White Lodge, I believe that's in Colorado, was basically, I believe, just taking the story of the Emerald Tablets and trying to make it his own. He calls himself Dr. Maurice Doreal, but he's not a doctor. He never finished elementary school, and his passport was never stamped to go to Egypt, so those stories are false. And I don't want to get into that too much because that's not the story we're talking about here. If you are interested in the Emerald Tablet, the real one that you have to look into is the Emerald Tablet of Hermes Trismegistus, who was thought to be the teacher of Thoth of Egypt. And he was also thought to be Canaan, the grandson of Noah. And the original story was that the tablets were, first of all, they were not written by Thoth, the Atlantean priest king. They were not discovered inside of a pyramid. They do not date back 36,000 years, and they do not exist because nobody has found. There is a replica, and the Rosicrucians have pictures, illustrations of what the original Emerald Tablet would have been. But it's not, when you start researching this and understanding it, there's an esoteric understanding. Now, Hermes, we use the, Hermes is an alchemist, as was Noah's grandson Canaan, if that's who it originated from. We don't know. But we're talking about alchemy here when we're talking about the Emerald Tablet. And what the Emerald Tablet is it's really a key to help you use the other teachings of alchemy, like the Hermetic principles, to unlock the secrets and the reality of nature and the metaphysical makeup of man. These are the secrets. There are secrets in life. Now, if you don't think there are, it's simply because you don't know them. But once you know them, you realize they are secrets. And Hermes and alchemy Back in the day when these were originally written, you had to keep a secret because if these got out, you would be killed. Today, there are people that won't like it if you start talking about some of the hidden secrets of life, because the ignorant people believe they know it all, and there isn't anything more to know. And if you tell them that there is, well, they'll attack you like people attack me. They don't want, it makes them feel ignorant to think that somebody else knows something they don't. So if they just attack the messenger and discredit them, well, then people don't have to listen to the message. They'll just disregard the message. And this is important because that's why the Emerald Tablets were written by mythical figures like Hermes and Thoth. These people, I don't believe, were real. They were mythical, like the Kabbalion, written by the 3 initiates. Who are they? And the reason for this is because if you write something in an anonymous mythical character, well, now you can't attack the writer because you don't know who it is, and you have to focus on the context of the writing. This is a wise thing to do, and it's a great way to keep things hidden from those that you don't want to know about it or are ready for it, because if the ignorant will immediately assume that if it's a mythical character writing it, then the whole thing's a myth. And that gets us to the Emerald Tablet. Is the whole thing a myth? What does it say? What is the Emerald Tablet? Well, the Emerald Tablet, I'm going to give you my interpretation and my opinion, and you can discern for yourself, because that's what the Emerald Tablet is telling us early on. I'm going to read it to you in a moment, but I want to give you an idea and a background of what it is. The tablet is a tool for discerning the hidden truths about the nature of reality and the metaphysical makeup of man. And the alchemy was the transmutation of the mind. A lot of people believe, because it was hidden, so that the ignorant wouldn't learn about it, it was told to them that alchemy was the transmutation or turning base metals into gold. But that's not what it was. That's not the truth. The truth is, anybody that studies it long enough will know that alchemy is the study of the psyche and the mind, and transmuting your mind to another level. And that's what this is about. So if you understand alchemy, there will be certain terms and words that are used in the Emerald Tablet that will help unlock certain things. The same thing goes for the Hermetic Principles. If you haven't watched the video I've done on the Hermetic Principles, watch those, because the Hermetic Principles are the laws of nature, and they knew about them. I mean, way back in the Egyptian days, they knew that everything vibrates. And it may be hard for some people to wrap their mind around the fact that people that long ago knew that everything vibrates. Nothing is ever at rest. A rock vibrates. You vibrate. And everything is at a different, every type of matter or gas to a rock is just a matter of a different vibrational rate of something that is in, like water, is in a different vibrational rate when it is liquid than when it is turned into a gas and vapor. And there is a transmutation of water, which is liquid, is heated by fire, heats the water. The sun heats the water. It evaporates into a gas. The gas then goes up and condensates and falls back down to the earth, and there's a cycle. And understanding the patterns of the world helps us to understand the unseen world. Because there are patterns in this world, and some of them are described in the Hermetic principles as far as the polars. Everything has an opposite, and everything ebbs and flows. Read all them to understand those, because I want to move on to the Emerald Tablets. Like I said, it is a tool to be used with the Hermetic principles and alchemy to unlock the keys. Now, Hermes and the Hermetics, and when we say hermetically sealed, we're still using terms of Hermes today. It has affected our culture in big ways. Hermetically sealed means it's sealed. It's a secret. You can't get in. And alchemy and the psyche of the mind is sealed. You can't get in. There's only one way, and that is to examine and use the keys that I'm going to discuss. So let me read the Emerald Tablet to you, and we'll discuss it more. Here's the Emerald Tablet. The Emerald Tablet of Hermes Trismegistus. It goes, in truth, without deceit, certain and most veritable, that which is below corresponds to that which is above, and that which is above corresponds to that which is below, to accomplish the miracles of the one thing. And just as all things have come from this one thing, through the meditation of one mind, so do all created things originate from this one thing through transformation. Its father is the sun, its mother is the moon. The wind carries it in its belly, its nurses is the earth. It is the origin of all, the consecration of the universe. Its inherent strength is perfected. It is turned into earth. Separate the earth from the fire, the subtle from the gross. Gently and with great integrity, it rises from earth to heaven and descends again to earth, thereby combining within itself the powers of both, above and below. Thus you will obtain the glory of the whole universe. All obscurity will be clear to you. This is the greatest force of all powers because it overcomes every subtle thing and penetrates every solid thing. In this way was the universe created. From this comes many wondrous applications because this is the pattern. Therefore I am called the thrice greatest Hermes, having all three parts of the wisdom of the whole universe. Herein have I completely explained the operation of the sun. Now, this is just one interpretation. I like this interpretation. They're all very similar. I'm going to go over each part and tell you what they mean, because that's what's important here. Now, first of all, I want to say, you will not, most people, if you are not already gone through the process and transformed your mind through enlightenment, because that's what this is all about. That's what alchemy is going through the transformation of enlightenment and changing your mind so that you understand the patterns of the universe and the unseen world. Because if you can understand the patterns of the unseen world, You can control those patterns by what you do, because what as above, so below means as the unseen world, so as the seen world. So as I do, I can affect the unseen world, or as above. I mean, it could be as simple as the universe up there and how the planets move around a nucleus, just like the atoms in our body, and the protons and electrons, and they all move around just like a universe. As above, so below means what's happening in the unseen world happens here in this seen world. And if we can understand the patterns of this world we're in, we can understand the patterns of the unseen world. And this is why scientists can't wrap their head around it, because you need to understand that there is a correspondence between the two worlds. And that is how you are able to know things that other people would not know, simply by knowing the patterns and how it works here. And that's what the first part of the Emerald Tablet is talking about. It's talking about the as above and so below. And what this means, and I explained it briefly here, is there is a correspondence, and this is the Hermetic principle of correspondence. Hermetic principle number 1 tells us that the universe is mental. That is why you can't make something from nothing. And that's because the all, or this thing you want to call God, if you want to call it that, created everything mentally. That way he didn't need to create something. It's all created in his mind, because you can't make something from nothing. So if you create it in your mind, you can create something, and it's there in your mind. The universe is mental. It is a mind. Understanding that, you are also part of that mind. Also, as above, so below. The universe, the stars, the planets correspond. The sun, the moon, the constellations, Venus, Jupiter, Mercury, Mars, Saturn, all these things correspond to certain things here. Certain metals like quicksilver and tin and copper. All these things have a relation. Every part of the body has a relation to the constellations and emotions. There is a correspondence and a connection to them. And that's what the Hermetic principle of correspondence was trying to tell us. And this first part of as above, so below. There is what's happening up above us in the unseen world, in the universe, is also happening with us. And now the unseen world can also be thoughts, emotions. And the next part goes on to tell us how the operation of what you have to do. The father is the sun, energy. The mother is the moon. The moon in alchemy represents water, moisture. The wind carries it in its belly. The wind is the air. These are the 4 elements: the fire, water, air, earth. If you haven't figured that out yet, when I read it the first time. The wind carries it. Now, if you're thinking of distillation, all right, let's think of it that way, where you have a pot of liquids and you put fire under it. The fire heats the liquids rise up in this container which has a tube that goes over into another container where it drips, and the purities are taken out of it. All right? And the sun is the father, the heater, the energy. The mother is the liquid. The wind carries it through the air. It becomes a lighter, more high vibrational matter. And then the nurse is the earth. It comes back to earth and retransforms back into purity. Same thing has to be done with your mind. You have to go through the process and evaluate yourself through the whole process. And you have to lose your mind to find it. And only those who have gone through the process will probably understand that, because that's what it takes. You have to bring your mind to the edge and not know what's true or false or real before you understand and you see the truth. And that's like the very first thing, the truth, without deceit, certain and most variable. The very first line of this is telling us you have to understand what is true and what is not, without deceit, in truth, discernment. So there will be parts of everything that is true, and there is no full truth. Everything's a half-truth. Everything's a half-lie. We need to understand that. The truth and a lie are just, the opposites are always one of the same thing. Stop and go are just motion. Truth and lie are also the same thing. And somewhere along the way there's a scale. That is part of the polarity of the Hermetic principles. And the next part of the Emerald Tablets is separate the earth from fire, the subtle from the gross, gently and with great integrity. It rises from earth to heaven and descends again to earth, thereby combining within itself the powers of both above and below. And this is about an understanding of how, when you separate the fire and the earth, you're left with you're separating the opposites, and you're left with the subtle, and then you got to separate that from the gross. When you go through this process using discernment and great integrity, don't lie to yourself. These are the understandings that you have to go through. In your psyche, when it comes to almost everything in our lives, the universe, how we're here, the Hermetic principles that everything vibrates. You got to understand that they knew that thousands of years ago, that a rock actually has a vibrational rate. That's true. It can be measured. Scientists today don't know how they knew that back then, but they did, because they understood the secrets of life in the universe, and this planet, and human beings. And if you go through this process, like it says in the Emerald Tablet, you will obtain the glory of the whole universe. All obscurity will be clear to you. You'll have all the answers. This is the greatest force of all powers, because it overcomes every subtle thing and penetrates every solid thing. I've tried to explain what enlightenment is, and I'm trying to explain the process of what it is and what alchemy was, because that's what alchemy was. It was them trying to teach people the process of enlightenment and going through it. And monks, they go through this process, they're taught this process, and all the religious books that were ever written were written because of this idea and this process. There is a secret, and it's huge, and it's the biggest secret, and if you don't find it before you die, you've never lived. Simple as that. Because it's that big. It's such life-changing. There is a whole world going on that most people don't see or understand. And we can live our lives and die and never learn this stuff, and that's fine. You don't ever have to know the secrets of life. But I think most people want to, but they don't want to go through the work to find out what it really is. And I'm going to tell you now, all this stuff about the Emerald Tablets is very convoluted. It's hard to understand. It was written a long time ago. The interpretations could be from different languages. So I'm going to tell you right now. The best way is to examine your emotions on a daily basis and ask yourself why you feel the way you do. Because your emotions are telling you something. Everything you need to become enlightened, you already have inside you. And they're your emotions, and they're telling you. People who are depressed, people who have anxiety, that it's your emotions telling you that something is wrong. You're living a lie somewhere. And you got to uncover it by examining those emotions and asking yourself why over and over and over again. Be honest with yourself. You can lie to yourself if you want, but you ain't going to get anywhere. You just still have your depression and your emotion and your misery and your suffering. And the material world and materialism is one of the things that keeps people trapped. They chase around the dollar bill thinking that that is the secret to happiness. And they get money and they spend it so fast because it's like that's where their happiness comes from. They think entertainment is happiness, contentment. But it's not. You can find things to entertain yourself all the time you want, but when they're all gone and you're miserable again, then you'll understand that there's something more. You don't need to be that way. Society creates misery for people, and originally religion was trying to help people, but right now if you see people out there, priests and ministers and these pastors that have these big mega churches and they charge people. Now, I had a discussion with somebody recently, a viewer, about whether it is okay to charge somebody. Well, I guess if you're really helping somebody, it's all right to charge them for your time. If that's what you're spending all your time and that's your income and that's what you're doing to survive is help people, then I think it's okay. But if you're excessively charging them and then you're taking this money and you're not helping other people with it, and you're buying giant mansions and fancy cars, then no one who is truly enlightened would do that. So your teacher is not enlightened. He's a charlatan if he is living in a materialistic lifestyle. Because enlightened people don't. Sadhguru, yes, he sells books, but he uses his money to help other people. He doesn't live a materialistic lifestyle. He doesn't buy mansions and diamond rings and these cars because he doesn't need those things to be happy. That's why they don't do it, because they have no desire. So if your spiritual teacher has a desire to live a materialistic lifestyle, I would find a new spiritual teacher. Simple as that. That's about all I want to say on the Emerald Tablets for now. That pretty much sums it up. I can't think of anything else I want to add. They are basically a work. It's a product of alchemy. It's a tool for alchemy to learn, and it works together with the Hermetic principles and the Kabbalion. And read that. I'm going to get into that in another video. I thank you for watching. Please hit subscribe. Follow me on Facebook at the Universal Life Church of Massachusetts. And you have a great day.